Welcome, everyone, to this special episode of the Lunch Table Podcast. In this video, we revisit the colossal film that was James Cameron's Avatar that had just released today in theaters, and we have plenty of thoughts to say about it. We're super excited, and please, if you can, like, subscribe, and we hope you enjoy. But without further ado, Dylan, the gas is clear, mask off.
Damn, that mask is hot. Yeah, it was great to revisit this titan of a film. James Cameron, he's known for very epic films, and coming back to this film, it was nostalgic. But yeah, what were your thoughts seeing it re-released in theaters?
Yeah, it's awesome. I have so many memories about Avatar. It used to be my favorite film. And just watching it again, and this time like IMAX is a little bit more enhanced, right? A little bit more upscaled. The technology is even more different. I think it still holds up. I don't even think there really had to be a re-release because it still looks amazing no matter what screen you're watching it from. But it was just such a pleasure. It took me like down memory lane. But what were you thinking about it?
Well, it's funny because at the time when it first came out, I actually thought it was a little overhyped. Because I remember they were pushing the 3D movie at the time, and I hate 3D just because I feel like it's distracting sometimes. But coming back to it, and I watched it in IMAX, and the quality is still there. It's still an amazing film. The cinematics really hold up. The CGI was great, although sometimes it feels like a little weird, like with the Thanatar. Like sometimes you could see like the CGI sometimes, but overall I think the quality is there, and I think it's such a great visual storytelling. It's such a very spiritual and thematic film. It kind of reminds me of, if anyone's ever watched the anime movie Princess Mononoke. It's kind of like that. It talks so much about like colonization, deforestation, and like all these like historical events, and all these powerful ideas just combined into an amazing sci-fi film. But yeah, any thoughts you had on like the story and the characters?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it still remains iconic. I think all elements really did. The story, a lot of people were comparing it to The Last of Mohicans back then. Um, I never watched The Last of Mohicans, so I couldn't really tell if it did or not. I just know for me it meant something because it was cool to see the whole thing with Jake Sully. Not having function of his legs, and he went from running to flying, and I think that was really beautiful. And I just love the spiritual like essence of just Pandora in general. I think it's a really cool idea. That you could feel right each other just through like the electricity and the dirt and stuff.
hmm
So
Yeah, everything on in this world is living, and everything has a theme behind it, and this was really I think Sam Worthington's like breakout role. This was like the movie that put him on the map in Hollywood, because I remember the same year I think Terminator Salvation came out, and then he did a Clash of the Titans. So this was like really the film that everybody, he's like a household name now. Um, Zoe Saldana, of course. Sigourney Weaver was in this. Stephen Lang. So great ensemble cast. But there's so many like great character moments, and even like the minor characters. Like I forgot the guy's name. He's like the nerd that's like talking with
oh,
with
Norm.
Jake. Norm. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's just so many like little small details, and Oma Takaya too. Like you were telling me earlier, like the Laszlo, the actor from The Boys, apparently like played one of the Oma Takaya people. I didn't even I was shocked when I heard that.
Yeah, when I did like a little bit of research, Laz is there. I guess I don't know what was his like previous filmography, but I think this one was probably like a huge one for him. I'm pretty sure. It's crazy. It's really cool. I think this was a film that like a lot of people like, even Stephen Lang again. Like after this movie, like a lot of people were fan cast him as like Cable from X-Men and stuff. And Sam Worthington, he had a cool backstory too. The actor in general, he said like he went to the Oscars with Payless shoes. I remember, right? He was like in the limelight at the time. And he did so many movies just because of this movie, I think. I mean, it must have been a really great year for these actors, especially in 2009. And again,
hmm
the film holds up today. It's still, I think, one of the benchmarks of like CGI, alongside with like Transformers. But to have a whole world realized completely in CG, I remember in articles it made a lot of people depressed because they wanted to live in this world. So yeah, I can't wait for part two at least. But what else were you thinking about talking about today?
Well, James Cameron, I feel like he does such a great job at world building, and even like in some of his like period pieces, like Titanic, he really encapsulates like the essence of the story. And I think this world that was like truly invented, even though it has snippets of like kind of things we've seen, like in like Star Wars or like 2000 A Space Odyssey. It has its own originality to it because it's not so much about the sci-fi. It may seem that way, but it's more about, like you said, it's kind of like a Last of the Mohicans motif. It's a very spiritual and it's a very cultural film. And it's so interesting because a lot of people remember James Cameron for Aliens. And in this movie, it's like instead of like aliens where like the aliens are the villains, they're actually the aliens are the victims, and the humans are actually like the villains in this movie. And it's so interesting. And I think at the time too, I feel like there was a lot of like climate activism going on too, with like a lot of like oil fracking, and like the environment like was like a big deal at the time. So it's so funny that this movie just happened to come out that same time. um yeah, there's so many great themes, and like I said, there's so many great character moments. And I feel like it like Sully, he's kind of like he's like the typical like Jarhead soldier. He even said like he's from the Jarhead clan too, but he's kind of like this reformed character that like he's empathetic towards like the people. Like once he starts becoming ingrained in their culture, he starts to understand like this is a people. They're not just like these individuals that just have this land and it's just ours for the taking, right? This is an actual people, and this is their homeland, and this is they have a history here, right? And it's like who are we to take that away from them, right?
Right. Yeah.
um so yeah, great themes. How about you?
Yeah. No, yeah. Well, the whole thing with like um just like mining from this planet, it's really cool because they say like here on Earth, if you go bare feet, like walking in the woods or something, there's something about the electricity or something like that from the Earth's core or something,
You can
and it
feel the
like
earth move or something.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like we as like humans, we can feel the planet, and there's so many elements in the planet that aren't like so. I think what I'm trying to say is people take things for granted, even the water you drink, and we think of these things that don't really have any life to it. But on Pandora, it was a nice little painting of like if you really look deeper and if you had like some type of thing to look into the planet, you could really see that there's a life inside everything, even the seeds, the animals. You could connect to everything. I think that was a really beautiful message to also display in the film. And it's again humans, they're like trying to destroy that for profit. Um, and they came from a planet that was already destroyed. Um, it's a really sad thing. And the movie I think ended so nicely, but at the same time too, there was so much already lost. Like I think about well shit, if this hadn't happened, I wonder if Jake and Natiri, I wonder like what are the funny moments to that relationship? What are those chill moments? And perhaps
hmm
Sute could kind of be like Jake's best friend, but that can't happen because of this greed that happened. So many people died, so many animals died. Look at that panther thing died at the end too. Like I would have liked to see it in part two, but it died. And it's all because what the humans did. So there's so much of a take. So
hmm
how do you come back from that? I wonder where Avatar Way of the Water will lead. Why are they
hmm
like in the water? Is it because they had to leave somewhere else? Or is it like a discovery, or is it there's more in the water now? Right.
right.
And it proposes an interesting question too. Will the Navi, if they're involved with the water so much, will they take a lot from the water? Because they're not really used to it.
mm.
From what I could tell, there's a water tribe, right? But
hmm
from the trailer we seen, there was more like involvement inside the water. And I wonder if there's
hmm
anything they're trying to take from that too. So I wonder if it's like this complex situation where the Navi will start taking stuff. Um, Maybe it's Jake's fault. I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's a clash of, well, in the first movie, it's a clash of ideologies. So it's like the Navi believe that all energy is borrowed and you have to give it back, whereas humans were so ingrained in mining resources that everything is just like take until it gives out, and then you look for the next thing, right? So it's like I wonder in the next movie, like because we saw like Jake, he's full Navi now, but he's still like working alongside the humans with what you saw from the trailer in the second one. So I wonder if it's like the Navi, will they start adopting like human ideologies? Because he is like human technically. He was born on Earth, so he has a different mindset from a whole nother planet. So I wonder if he's gonna bring that into like this tribe and this race of people. Um, because yeah, I wonder too, like what would have happened if Jake never went on this expedition? It's like, or if he never became part of the Avatar program. It's like, would he still have the same mindset, or would, because he basically is the glue that coexists the Navi with the humans, right? Because he's kind of like he's kind of like this ambassador, really. He comes from both sides of these two different races, um, and he's kind of like this like messiah figure for the Omatakaya, and and even Grace too, played by Sigourney Weaver. She's kind of like his guide, I guess, to like these people, because she's also, I mean, she's a woman of science, but she still has like empathy toward this people, because she's like they have a system, right, and you have to respect that system. And I thought it was so ironic when she said when she saw the Tree of Souls, and she was like, I died to get samples, and then she ended up, dying, becoming part of AWA too. So little things like that, it's like the subtle cues, and then it talks a lot about, like I said, like like natural issues that we have on Earth, right? Even though it's this grand epic, and there's this war happening, there's still like these down to earth moments that talked about, stuff that's happening in our reality as well.
Now, you said you didn't like the movie when you first watched it, that you said it was very overrated, but now actually doing this revisited episode and going through like the themes and stuff, do you think it lives up to the hype?
I do. Revisiting it, it's weird because sometimes I have to rewatch stuff. Even recent movies, like I said, like I didn't like Solo when it came out, and then I rewatched it, and I was like, yeah, it's actually not a bad Star Wars movie. But coming to this movie, I think James Cameron brought something new and exciting and fresh to, and it's hard now because sci-fi, I feel like, is so defined, and it's become so kind of like generic now. But it's hard to find something that really like encapsulates you know like a human element, inside this grand world of, technology. But I think this is like one of the, I would say, high tier sci-fi movies. Like I would recommend anyone like would watch. And coming back to it and rewatching in theaters, it still lives up to the experience. It feels like I actually, like, I never left this world, and it's like I'm watching it through fresh eyes and fresh perspective now. But how about you?
Yeah, I don't get tired of it. This was the first movie I ever watched twice when I was younger in the theaters, and now I watched it a third time in the theaters. And then plus I watched it plenty of times on Netflix. I don't know if you remember back then when they came with those little envelopes, right? And then I bought the Blu-ray. And that's when I really started to collect Blu-rays. And so I have so much like history with this movie, and I was a big fan and with the figures and stuff. I think Mattel was even making figures for these that movie back then. And again, it's just something where I think it affects people. Seeing something at the time that like CGI was kind of iffy for some movies, and of course, the main talking point for like Avatar would be the CGI at first glance, because you were saying you made a great point with like I think She-Hulk, where you said that it looks bad because there aren't like a lot of other like CGI characters next to She-Hulk. It's just all live action. Here, it's like it's interesting how they do it, where the whole world is CGI, right? So it's kind of like it makes me think, well, this opens the possibility of doing different films like this. I don't know why many like directors aren't trying to jump on this train of just fully CGI. I think it's wonderful. I know Beowulf did it, but it was kind of like, PlayStation 2 CGI. This it feels expensive. It feels huge. Everything is huge. The ships are huge. Everything. The story, right? The climactic battle. Yet what you were saying, right? The little moments, really, if you look deep enough and you try to feel them out, they're beautiful. And the seeds, right, have so much meaning. And at first glance, if you're like a young kid, you wouldn't really care about it. But revisiting this, actually seeing this in theaters, I really do hope that a younger audience, a younger generation will come to appreciate this movie. And I really hope that Avatar Way of the Water doesn't flop, because that's going to be disappointing. Like to continue the story.
Hmm.
So yeah, man, I love this film. I kind of get why people were saying it's kind of overrated. Um, but I don't know. I think they were just saying it because they kept on comparing it to the Kevin Costner movie. I don't know.
It was an ambitious film at the
Yeah.
time, still is ambitious film, like you said, like, it's like the CGI, like I get why some people and some studios are kind of, like, reluctant to use CGI for, like, a full movie because you have to do it right, you have to make sure it fits the tone of your movie. I think this movie, it made sense because you're not just, you're not just using locations, uh, right? You're inventing a whole new world, and this world too, there's certain elements that you have to make it larger than life to make your story stand out more. Um, and I don't think the CGI holds up, honestly,
Hell yeah.
because there are certain moments where, like, the humans were next to the Na'vi too, and it didn't look bad. Like, one of my favorite scenes is, like, when, Natiri is holding Jake, like, in his human form, and she says, "I see you," right? And it's actually, like, her seeing him his real form, and the first time I love that scene. But it still holds up, and I think the CGI really, like, it was revolutionary for the time, and I think a lot of studios now are trying to encapsulate that. I mean, some better than others, obviously, but,
Yeah.
even, like, the mech suits, like, I think they look really good on screen, and it I love that, like, they use, like, technology to represent the humans, and, like, the Na'vi are more like this very naturalistic, people. Um, but yeah, overall great movie. What do you suspect we'll see for the next movie, for Way of the Water?
Yeah, I wonder. So I read the comic. I kind of stopped midway because Comixology is ass. If you guys didn't know, the app is horrible. But yeah, and so like the comic dealt with the repercussions of what happened in the first movie, and so Jake was this commander, or kind of, and everyone was like looking to him to like do this, do that, and again, Turok Makto, the Beast comes down again for like some scenes in the comics as well. So I don't doubt we'll see it again in Avatar: The Way of the Water. Um, and I wonder how many years this takes place after Avatar because we do see a lot of human characters, and I saw like one character that he kind of looks like this. He's a human, but he has like these white tattoos to represent like those little stripes from the Navi. And so I wonder what's that? Is he the son? That's gonna be really weird if he was the son from Neytiri and Jake. Um, yeah, we can't go really off of the trailer because it was just this very, like, beautiful, like, scored trailer, right? That didn't show
It was more
much, but
emotional, yeah.
yeah, and that's the thing, like, Avatar, again, it meant so much to me when I was young, so when I saw it, I felt like to tear up a little bit, especially with the song and stuff.
Mhm,
Way of the Water, I wonder what that has to do, though. What's gonna happen? Is there, like, a faction that from the humans that try to strike back,
mhm,
or maybe there's like some devastating thing. I heard that the sequels will take place on the moon too, apparently, like one of the moons in Pandora. Like each movie is supposed to take place on like different moons and planets or something like that, which is wild,
mhm.
right? So I wonder if Avatar Way of the Water will lead into that. But yeah, what are your predictions for Avatar The Way of the Water?
I have some ideas. So obviously, like you said, we'll have to deal with the repercussions of the first film. I think I read somewhere like the Navi actually have a longer lifespan than humans do, so this could take place a good amount of time between the first film. Um, well, obviously, it would have to deal with the Omaticaya people because they lost their home, which was the giant tree. So they're probably searching for a new home, and they're trying to expand, I guess, because Pandora is like a huge planet. So maybe they're trying to look for a new home. Maybe that's what leads them to like this new kind of like oceanic environment. And I guess too they'll have to learn how to connect with new creatures. So maybe that all the sea creatures we saw. So they have to do I forgot what the connection's called. Oh, the Salehu
Yeah.
bond. That's what they have to do with. Well, so they'll have to find because they can't fly anymore and use horses. So they'll have to learn how to interact with the sea life. So it's a new experience for them. They'll have to learn how to adapt, right, to survive as a people. Um, but knowing that they've united with the other Navi too, I guess that could help them as well. I'm still interested to see like why the humans are still there because we saw in the trailer they kind of have this like I guess colony. Looked like they were still like mining.
They
So I
were in
wonder
the
if
comics. Yeah, they were
yeah.
still.
Oh yeah. So I guess not every that makes me think like maybe the humans that they were dealing with was like in one part of the area like near the tree. So
Yeah,
maybe there's like different colonies like on the planet, still mining for this. So
right.
maybe they're still at war with the humans. Maybe Jake is trying to be like this, guy in the middle that tries to be a diplomat between like the Navi and the humans. Because he is kind of like dressed in like human like armor, kind of like garb, and he's using like human weapons too. So yeah, I wonder like who's the big bad of this movie.
I think I found it actually. I forgot to mention that there was a still showing Kortrage as a Navi. There's
Ah,
actually a
oh
still, so he
wow.
comes back. Yeah, he's a Navi now, apparently.
But didn't he die though in the
Yeah,
first
but
movie?
that was the still. It showed Kortrage there, and he's like in the cast list for Way of the Water. So I was like, oh
That's how
shit.
badass he is. He comes back from
Yeah,
the.
I guess
He
he's
was
like
the
the
most
main
macho
guy.
dude. Like he
Right.
was like if you put testosterone in a crock pot, like that's that's Cortridge. That's
He
interesting.
had
Yeah.
Yeah, he had so much. And again, Kate Winslet will be Ronal or something. We have Michelle Yeoh as well, which is cool.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty
that's
cool
very
cast.
interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my overall thoughts for the second movie, and I think that like I said, the first movie still holds up. If I had to rate it, I think I'd give it a 9 out of 10. How would you rate it?
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I like it. I wish we could have reviewed this back then, but we were too young. But yeah, for sure, I would give it a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed this film so much. Um, but yeah, I guess that's it for our revisited episode. Guys, if you made it to the end, we greatly appreciate you and we love you and thank you so much. And I can't wait to do a review of Dylan for The Way of the Water. That's gonna be really fun. If you're new to the channel, we do plenty of reviews. We're currently reviewing She-Hulk, and we're gonna do Handmaid's Tale. We're currently doing that. So yeah, Dylan, please take it away.
Yeah, thank you guys for watching our revisited of Avatar. Make sure you're following the podcast whenever platform you're listening to, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're growing as a podcast every day, so we thank you for your support. We just covered She-Hulk, like Akram said. We're covering Handmaid's Tale. Next week, we are covering Andor. The first 3 episodes is premiering on Tuesday night, I'm sorry. So that'll be fun. We have a lot more content planned as well for the rest of this month and October as well. So you guys will want to stick around for that. But thank you guys so much. And until then, thanks for having lunch with us.
See you guys. Zuhelo Dylan. So I see you.
I see you.